Yolan True and welcome to another exciting day in our galaxy. And after all this stuff of this new arc, the Q Continuum, we will finally see another episode of our little A to Z Officers series now. And as you still know, if you remember, we are at the letter W now. And today we need to talk about an uncommon officer named Woteln. Of course, as usual, we have a look at the general stats again. The class is Science, which means you need Science badges to upgrade him. He's from the group Klingon Patriots, which means he can get synergy from others of that group if he's captain and they are on the bridge. Or he can give synergy to another captain of that group if he's on the bridge as well. And he's from the faction Klingon Empire, which means you need Klingon faction credits to upgrade him. And as it seems, he's not a very known officer from any series or movie, so the text here is a little bit short, but you know that there's always a text in the info box about all the officers. And as you could hear already, he does have a captain maneuver, and that's scattering field. If the opponent ship is a battleship, Woteln increases the damage of the weapons by 10%. First of all, Woteln is an officer you have good use for very early in the game. First of all, because you get him very early, we come to that in a second, and later on you get much better officers. And the number 10% of damage increase sounds really low. But in the early stages of the game, when you are starting and when you most probably will have Woteln, it is still a big help. Later on, the numbers will rise, but your ships are bigger, the enemies are bigger. So the 10% in the beginning sound very little, but they are good. So you might consider to use him if you're going for battleships. That's the case with a combat triangle. So if you are using an interceptor and want to grind reputation in one of the factions, you will pick battleships. And in this case, Woteln might be a good captain for you that early. And at the same time, he does have an officer ability called Interceptor Affinity. If the ship is an interceptor, Woteln increases the dodge value by another 40%. That's a nice number as well. And as I said, you will have to look at the combat triangle when you are, especially in the early stages of the game. Later on it gets important again. Sometimes in between it doesn't. For example, when I'm hunting freebooters, I don't have to care about the combat triangle anymore because there are only freebooters to level 60. And for my ships now, they are quite easy. So I can just take the closest one and not bother about that anymore. But with the faction hostiles, I have to take care of the combat triangle. If you don't know what that is, by the way, have a look in the general help playlist. There's a video on that one. But that also means that you have a very good interceptor officer for grinding battleship faction hostiles in the very early stages of the game. So, and especially, of course, on a Klingon ship. And so he is a very good officer in the beginning. As an uncommon officer, he does have one trait for away teams as well, and that's Warrior. That's where I'm sending him now. If I need Warriors, Woteln is one of those I'm sending out for this because now at the stage of the game where I don't need him anymore. But I did use him very, very early in some cases when I was on an interceptor using it against faction hostile battleships, and you might want to do the same. And I say that because he's quite easy to get very early in the game. On my level 12 account, I had him very early as well, and that is because he's already in the standard recruit section. And if you look here, there's Woteln, and the tokens here, first of all, you get very easily already in the beginning of the game after you started. And if you've seen my video on that one, you even can get officer shards from the standard recruit section if you don't have those tokens. So it's very probable that all of the officers here will be very early in your inventory. But he's also in the premium section, so you have another chance of getting him, although there are a few more officers in here. He is also in another section where you might consider to get those tokens for, because they're not that expensive. That's the Klingon recruit section. Then he's also in the other one where I never, kind of never. There might be an exception because of an event, but otherwise I never would do that. In the Elite Klingon recruit section, but those require a certain reputation with the Klingons, and they are really expensive. And so, as I said in many videos before, I don't buy those. But if you want, there's Woteln in here as well. So that's another chance of getting him. And soon after I filmed this video, I'm quite sure we'll soon have Crucible of War events again. And then there will be another recruit section here for the Crucible event. And depending on your ops level, there's 1 or 2 recruit sections here. And Woteln is in there again. So there are a lot of ways of getting him. And as I said, if you get him very early in the game, after you started on a server or you started the game at all, then really have a look out. Later in the game, I'm not so fond of officers that are made for a certain ship against a certain ship class. That's why I'm not that fond of the new Q PvP crew, by the way, despite all the shopping and recruit event loss and stuff like that. But they are just against one type of ship. And so you really have to predict that you have those ships there. That's why I'm not a big friend of those, except when it's about grinding hostiles. I'm doing that now once again with my dailies. We'll talk about the 61 plus dailies this week as well, to give you a little overview there too. And for that, I have to hunt faction ships again. They are quite strong compared to what I had to deal with earlier, and I have to grind faction hostiles again now. And so I have to look for certain ship classes versus other classes because of combat triangle. But throughout the game, I'm not very fond of officers that are limited to that. But as I said, a crew like this early in the game, when you know that you're only going for a lot of battleships, would be nice. But of course, I would like to hear your thoughts on Woteln as well. Are you using him at the moment? Were you using him when you were on lower levels? That will be very interesting for my viewers. And if you can either leave a comment below the video or on Discord, where everybody is welcome to. And if you want to see another video right now, the next one is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.